Hello there pretty people of the internet and welcome to my channel. My name is Annika and today I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to get motivated to study when you really don't feel like it. I am big into studying. In fact, this whole channel is dedicated to studying in school and doing well. But every once in a while we all have those moments where no matter how urgent something is, we just can't seem to get to it. Sometimes this just happens every once in a while and sometimes it's a reoccurring issue, in which case I want you to really look at yourself and what you're studying and try to evaluate why you don't have the motivation to study. But if this is kind of like a one-off for you and you just need a way to get your butt in gear and get moving, this is the video for you. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to try to make it speedy and snappy to get through everything quickly so you can get back to studying. My first tip is to get yourself into the right mood. Do you have to stay up quite late to get a lot of writing done, or is it the middle of the day and you need to calm down enough so that you can really focus on what you're reading? If you need to calm down, use methods that work for you, such as stretching for a little bit, getting yourself a nice cup of tea, listen to some classical music. If it's late and you just have to get a lot of work done and you're tired and you just need to hype yourself up, put your hair up in a bun, get some coffee. I like doing energy drinks if it's late and I have to really get hyped. Listen to some EDM music, get that energy flowing. When you're studying, also notice if you're slipping out of these moods and take appropriate breaks to make sure that you can get back into the right flow for the work that you need to do. My second tip is to find appropriate ambient sound and pictures to go with your study setting. This is one of my favorite things to do, even if I'm not necessarily studying, if I just need to sit and do a lot of work, especially if I don't need to do work on my computer, but I have to do reading and I can have my computer or tablet or phone up. If you don't know what I'm talking about very specific videos or sounds on YouTube or other places on the internet. Some of my favorites include being in the Ravenclaw common room to study, and it's just the sound of the wind howling and some firecrackers, the fireplace crackling and people turning pages. I love studying at different places at Hogwarts, but you can find basically anything. If you need to do work on your computer, you can just do the sound. There's a website that's great for that. I will link it down below. But if you can have your computer up, there's often pictures that are slowly moving. So you will have a book turning pages every once in a while. So it's not distracting, but it feels like you're in a different space. This has been especially important for me in 2020 since I haven't been able to go anywhere else to study when I've needed to. Normally I kind of feel like going to the library or coffee shop will give that same vibe, but since we've been forced to stay at home, I've been doing the second best option, which is doing it with my computer. My third tip is to set a 10-minute timer and see exactly how much work you can get done within those 10 minutes. This works especially great for writing. Sometimes I just do it to get started on reading, but for writing it really works great. So what I do is that I take my phone, I set a timer for 10 minutes, and in those 10 minutes I try to write as much as I physically can. It doesn't matter if the words aren't good, it doesn't matter if they're not correct. If I brain fart, I will just write that I am currently having a little brain fart and I can't think of anything more to write. Anyways, King Henry III was blah 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 blah, and move on. The point here is not to write great words that you're going to submit anywhere. It's just to get yourself started. I will often write down exactly how many words I got in a 10-minute sprint, and then I try to write more than that in the next 10-minute sprint I do. My fourth tip to motivate yourself to study is to change up the method in which you are studying. For instance, if you have been reading and taking notes, I challenge you to read and then take notes, or to make some flashcards on what you've already read and written down, or do some practice questions. Whatever it is that is productive, that will work, that will change up the method a little bit. I find it very hard to sit still and do a reading for 4 hours straight, but I can break that up into manageable chunks and then put in other tasks that need to get done or that will be helpful in my studying in between those reading periods. So I will read for half an hour, take a 5-minute break to go to the bathroom, get some more water, and then I will work on making some flashcards, or I will be outlining some practice answers. By using different study methods correctly in the same study session, You're both giving yourself a break by not overwhelming you by doing the same probably boring task for a really long time, and you're also challenging yourself by trying to see if you can not just read and copy, but if you can reproduce the material. The fifth tip is to do the bare minimum. I know there are times when we need to be starting to study for our midterms and things like that, but this is probably not the time. If you can't get yourself to do your homework for tomorrow, you're probably not going to have a lot of energy to do extra things. You yourself know what is important and what is not, what has to be done and what should be done. But if you feel a little uncertain about how to prioritize, remember the general rule: do first, do first. If it's due at midnight, you have to do that before you can start on the thing that's due tomorrow at 5. The sixth tip is to pretend you're someone else. And it sounds weird, but hear me out. How motivated haven't we all been to study when we watched Legally Blonde and we've seen Elle Woods like really going at it, hitting those LSAT study books or those law books? Or when we watch Pretty Little Liars and Spencer Hastings has been like killing it with her flashcards, or is always laying on her bed, especially in like the first season, laying on her bed, reading, highlighting, doing her homework. I want you to really dig into that feeling. So put a timer on for 5 minutes, find a character that you love, that you admire academically, find some pictures of them studying, put that up, like blow that up on your laptop screen, or print it out and put it up on your wall behind you, and keep looking at it and pretend you're them. Don't use this as an excuse to like rewatch all of Legally Blonde. You can find like the best study clips on YouTube, watch those, really feel it, really become Elle Woods, and then get to work. My seventh tip is to study with someone else. I often find that studying with someone else in person doesn't really work for me. I get too easily distracted. But what we can do is that we can use, for instance, Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, set up like a designated study time with a friend and study with them. Or if your friends aren't super into that, or if you still get too distracted, watch a live stream or a recording of a live stream here on YouTube. I've done a few live streams in the past and people are still watching them after the fact, even though they're not live anymore. I will link a few of those below. The last few ones I've tried to do have gotten like shut down like within minutes because of copyrighted music, even though I haven't been using music in them at all. It's a whole thing. There are plenty of YouTube channels that are designated specifically to live streaming people study. Some of them people like will chat with you every half hour or an hour. Some of them you don't even see people's faces, you just see the studying going on, like handwriting, watching lectures, flipping through books. Play around with it for a little bit, see what works for you. I found it to be very motivating and helpful because I felt like someone else was doing it with me and someone else was holding me accountable. Especially when I was live streaming, because then I couldn't use my laptop. I couldn't really do something else because people were watching, which kind of sounds like a big brother kind of thing, but for me it really worked. And my final tip is to just start. You can spend hours and hours trying to look for the motivation or to try to find something that inspires you to get started, but I'm telling you right now that this is it. This is your sign. Go ahead, go study. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment down below if you have the time, and you know if you have the time. Subscribe if you want more study tips, and go study. Bye!